Things have gone bad. The tank is completely covered in algae, so I'm going to show you guys what's happened over the past couple weeks, how I got here, and how I plan to fix it. Hey, what is up guys? Kalem or Kalem's Fish Tanks, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the purple and pink Aquascape behind me. Last time you guys saw this tank was about 2 weeks ago, or 2.5 weeks ago, and since then things have gone really bad. With this tank, I did a dark start method. Now a dark start method should help with early algae spikes and will help you cycle the tank, but the problem is I kind of cheated on it. So about a week before I set up the light and started adding plants, I decided I wanted to add a little bit more substrate. With more substrate would come more nutrients, which I think is where my problem started. The dark start didn't have enough time to take care of these, and yeah, that's how I got to where I am today. So I should have definitely either added the substrate earlier or been more patient and waited a couple weeks before adding my light and plants, but you guys can learn from my mistakes. So first off, you guys may have noticed some new plants in the tank. I added some plants. These aren't all purple and pink plants, but they're only going to be in here temporarily. I needed more plant mass to deal with this algae. I figured they wouldn't be able to outcompete it with the slow growers I had, like the bucephalandra and dwarf baby tears, especially with how little was in there. So I needed to bring in some big guns to take care of the nutrients, which we're going to talk a little bit about. The main algae I'm dealing with is brown algae, which is super common in new tanks and not something you really need to worry too much about. It just takes a little bit of patience, but it can smother out your plants, so I thought it would be a good idea to add a bit more plants to help deal with it. At this point, it's probably a bit of a problem and I should take care of it, but earlier it wasn't much to worry about like you see here. So I needed a plant that could soak up the extra nutrients and block out some of the lights. The one I chose for this is Hygrophila polysperma tiger. If you've never heard of this plant, it's a great plants for profit, which I'm going to put a link to a video on plants for profit I did last week up here. And that's because it's a super fast grower. Since it's such a fast grower, once it develops its root system, it should be able to outcompete the algae for nutrients as well as light, and hopefully end up killing some of this off. Now the other plant that works great for this that I also added in here are red root floaters. I'm not sure how they're going to do though. There's a lot of flow, so red root floaters don't do great with a lot of flow. So they may start dying, and if they do, I want to be able to remove them easily, so I only added a couple in there to test it out. And I also added one more plant, and that is Rotala macrandra. Now it's not just in there because it's a pretty pink plant. This plant is going to play an important role. I'm going to call it an indicator species. If you've ever grown Rotala macrandra or any of its other variants, you'll know these are very sensitive plants. When conditions in the tank aren't right, these plants will start to what is called stunt. The growth form changes a lot, and it's pretty easy to notice when this is happening, so it'll allow me to determine that something is going wrong in the tank. Since this is a faster grower, at least faster than all the other species in my tank, it'll give me a chance to notice that something has gone wrong and hopefully be able to fix it before my slower growers like the bucephalandra and crypts start to get affected by whatever is wrong in the tank. What I've noticed with these collector buse, the bright pink ones I have in this tank, is these are very sensitive plants as well, and they don't like change. When change occurs, they're going to start having a lot duller colors, and they just won't look as pretty. With this indicator species, it will basically notify me when things are going wrong, so hopefully I can make a change before my colors of my buse start to get affected. So after a couple days, the plants have been added and they're slowly starting to develop root systems, but I've worked the last couple days and I haven't seen the tank with the light on in I think the last 3 days, but I can see very clearly things have gone really bad in there. The algae has got to the point where it's starting to become a problem, or it is a problem. The plants are getting outcompeted by the algae, and there are some that are completely covered in it. So at this point, I need to step in and make some sort of change before I start losing plants. So the plan today is to manually remove as much of this algae as possible. To do this, I'm going to use a little pipe brush. I've found this little brush is super helpful for all my algae needs, and I'm just going to kind of swirl it up like it's spaghetti. After removing a bunch of it, I'm going to do a 30 to 40% water change to get any out of the water column that I may have stirred up. I don't want to do too big of a water change because that'll knock off my conditions, and with these buse and other sensitive plants, I want to keep the tank stable as possible and consistent as possible. So here's what the tank looks like after the maintenance session. You can see there's still quite a lot of this brown algae. Now, a lot of it I couldn't get out because I didn't want to rip up my whole carpet, and it's kind of sticky, but you can see the carpet does have new growth under all of the algae, which is a really good sign. The Bucephalandra is putting out some new leaves. If I can get it to focus, there you go. You can see they're a pretty bright pink color, which is a good sign that the lights and the substrate are of good quality right now. Hopefully I can keep it like this, but yeah, it's only been 2.5 weeks, and so far pretty happy with things. You know, it would be nice to have no algae, but this stuff is pretty avoidable for new aquariums. I'd hope my dry start had worked better, but we've dealt with this before, so it shouldn't be a problem. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this short little update. This was Kalem's Fish Tanks. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.